Okay, welcome to the August 2022 meeting of the Yarmouth Energy Committee. This is a remote Zoom meeting. We're delighted to have two members of the public with us, Nicole and Howard Hecht, and we have a quorum, so I guess we can get started. Ordinarily, with our secretary present, we would approve the minutes at this point. And I know the minutes from last time took a lot of work and she got feedback and a lot of editing. So we'll just have to, since I don't see her Hollywood Square, we'll push that down toward the bottom of the meeting. Cape Light Compact. Oh, Marilyn?
Joyce, no, this is Sandy. She did send out the meetings to us this morning, I believe, the revised meeting minutes.
Okay, well then as long as everybody has seen those, I'm certainly willing to entertain a motion about the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as revised.
Okay, any second to that?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, was that an aye, Bob?
He's muted. Just go like this.
Do a thumbs up, Bob, if you're yes on the minutes.
I abstain. I missed the meeting.
Oh, okay. So 4-0, I believe. No votes against, and then with one extension following the nothing. Okay, Cape Light Compact update. The next Compact board meeting is not until Wednesday, the second Wednesday in September. So this is the time when everybody ramps up for all the energy efficiency programming in the fall. We're going to be having somebody present on power supply at one point. And we're also, I know, planning that to have something on insulation and how it can conserve energy with Camilla Flannery, with some help on the programs that are available that that might help you from Cape Light Compact at a fall meeting. The reason that the Cape Light Compact is paying so much attention to power supply as well as energy efficiency at the moment is it's usually energy efficiency season right now, but because the rates, the electric rates have gone up in such a startling fashion, they're trying to get out the word about why that is and give people a sense of where the rates are liable to go with the winter. As you know, the winter rates are traditionally much higher than the summer rates. You'll be glad to know that the basic Cape Light Compact rate is still below the the Eversource basic rate. But higher rates are possible if you want to buy energy that's 50% from new renewable energy installations, therefore, you know, first class RECs, or for 100% energy from new first class REC renewable energy installations.
But the rates will stay the same until December.
They will, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Cape Light Compact rates change every 6 months. So unless the world changes enormously before December, the rates then will jump up again. Okay, so we're going to be having a very short presentation on the rates at our September meeting. And then I'd like to think of maybe October for our conservation insulation, you know, building envelope presentation, if that would work for you, Camilla. I don't know what your schedule is, and I know you'd graciously volunteered to offer your architectural prowess on that.
Yes, that works. That works. That beginning of October meeting would be fine.
Oh, great.
We have time to prepare.
Okay, lovely. There's also going to be a Cape Light Compact event on incentives at the Yarmouth Senior Center. And the date for that hasn't been set, but as soon as we know when that is, we'll get the word out by email and try to help publicize that by putting it on our corner of the website. So any questions about Cape Light Compact?
Joyce, do you know if any of the legislative fixes that Maggie was hoping for made it into the package that's now on the governor's desk?
I don't. And I don't even know if, oh, welcome, Madam Secretary. I don't even know if the fixes that she was proposing would have been things that Governor Baker would have agreed with or not in that negotiation, where some things got thrown out and then it got sent back to him with, you know, some of his choices, but not all of his choices. I can find that out and probably let you know by the beginning of next week. It certainly would be a good thing if the changes did go through, but I've been very frustrated trying to figure out even what's in the final bill that was dropped on Baker's desk, even for more obvious things in the Cape Light Compact's wish list. And I also, I keep sending solar vibes and good thoughts for a yes from Kyrsten Sinema for the bill that's up as the Inflation Reduction Act in DC, because the increase for the incentives, both in length and amount per residential installation, would be just a real triumph for solar. Okay, probably most of you know this, but there would be an extension if that passes, where the reimbursement with the federal tax production credit would increase. It's 26% this year, then it starts to slide down 22% next year. It would instead get boosted to 30%. And that would stay for several years. So my hope is that for people who had the bad luck to order their arrays through Solar Wolf, that will be a tiny compensation for the delays that they're experiencing. Okay, well, there isn't really much more on the Cape Light Compact, because August is a kind of everybody's nose to the computer for energy efficiency programming month. If you don't have any questions, we'll jump into the thing that has even drawn visitors from Newton, which is the update on Solarize Plus Yarmouth. We've just sent out the beginning of August Solarize Yarmouth update letter. And Nicole and Howard, if one of you gives me an email, I'll send that to you as soon as we get off this meeting. If you'd like it, I'm assuming you might.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We'll send it through the chat.
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, great idea. Okay, so one of the things that came up as a possible strategy is new, and we'll have more information on that next week. But a brilliant customer pointed out a path we hadn't thought of before, which is that Maura Healey gave several $1 million to local consumer proceedings as part of a consumer mediation program. But there are two parts to that. There's the kind of one-on-one mediation. No one would ever find Solar Wolf to conduct that with one of the wolves. But then there's also the part that's an LCP, which is the local consumer program. And the reason that the customer brought this to our attention was, any of you who know someone who's going through this know that if you go to register with the Office of Consumer Affairs for that last chance financial making whole, which is the Home Improvement Contractor Guarantee Fund, one of the startling things that you discover when they answer back to send you is, first of all, it's going to cost you some hundreds of dollars to do that. And then the second thing is that they want you to have a judgment. So although this wasn't on the site, some of our customers have been getting back these chirpy little acknowledgements of their sending in material and explaining to them that they'll want a lawyer to have a judgment to be able to collect at the end of that proceeding. We think we might have a workaround for that, and that's these local panels. And if you hold on just a minute, I'm going to look and see if there's one in Newton. Are you Middlesex County in Newton?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Yes, there is a one in Newton. Not held near you, apparently. The LCP that's funded for Middlesex County this year is at the Middlesex Community College Law Center in Lowell. But anyway, what happens is you approach that. We're picturing this as a group thing down here with the Solarized Yarmouth people. And as you know, we picture all the pleas for that and the cases and descriptions going in at once. And the whole point of it would be to secure a thing that the state would consider a judgment, so that our people could jump into the Home Improvement Contractor Warranty Fund process. Now, that process is proceeding what we used to call glacially, and of course we now need a new adverb for that. Apparently they're just finishing up their 2021 cases now. So I would say it'd be 2023 before anyone with Solarized Yarmouth even getting into this right away would receive an award through that arbitration program. But here's why it would be useful to have the judgment already. If you have the judgment and you get to that point on the waiting list, you don't then have to stop and get a lawyer and do that step. And this would also be a big savings over a lawyer. So that's why we're proposing that. Because that was a new idea that came out. I was doing this month's update since Mike Duffy is not available. Since that came up just as the update was being put together, I'm going to send out a supplement next week with more information about that. Answering questions like, how much will it cost? Are we sure that this judgment would count for this other part of the Attorney General's office with the Office of Consumer Affairs? Because we've learned with the whole Solarized progress that there are whole subdivisions of the state that don't necessarily pen pal with each other and don't necessarily have programs that make it easy to switch from one to the other. So we'll be asking those kinds of things, but it's looking very good. And that would save people a lot of time. We also had some very good news for people, and this would be Sandy in this meeting, with net metering program agreements, the interconnection, and also with SMART program enrollments that have deadlines that are expiring because, of course, the installation never followed and was never completed. And so we do have someone working on those. And in the update letter that just went out, I gave my email as the portal to receive those. I'm bundling them and giving them to a volunteer on the Solarized team who actually works directly with DOER and also is going to work directly with an administrator at Eversource to get those solved. And in the case of the net metering interconnection, they may have to be taken out and reissued, but at no cost to the customer. With the SMART program, they're going to go through a list of names and addresses that the Solarize volunteers are going to give them of people who have made 2 payments. So presumably we're at the Solar Wolf goes to apply for your permit stage, and figure that they might all be possibles for having some paperwork here. We don't have confidence that Solar Wolf did all the paperwork or did it all correctly. A neighbor of mine ended up with an installation, net metered, connected, producing electricity, but with a smart registration number that led to an empty file in DOER. So and there are going to be a lot of little details to work out of this. I think Solar Wolf was probably falling down in some tasks before their abrupt implosion. Let's see, what else did we have on that? I think those were the main things. Of course, when we send out the letters, the updates, we're mainly trying to reassure people that we're in touch, and you know, their Solarize volunteer team in their town is not going away until everybody is installed. I certainly wish that I could tell them that was, you know, going to be within the very near future. But we are at this point getting ready for a big meeting with SunPower, in which we'll have the help of the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center. And we hope to get some results from that. It does seem that SunPower, at least here on the Mid-Cape, is all over this in some not good ways, including that they dangled money in front of Solar Wolf to serve as subcontractor for some installations that SunPower itself had taken orders for, and they took them off Solarize Yarmouth work to do that. Not that they have the power, the total power over Solar Wolf decisions, but it's an example of the kind of conflict that got set up when SunPower decided in early 2021 that they were going to spin off their manufacturing division, and that SunPower, which had always worked through dealers, was going to have the main part of SunPower that kept the name SunPower with nothing after it, do marketing and direct sales and service. And so they started selling on Cape, undercutting their 2 master dealers already at work on the Cape, and of course, undercutting Solar Wolf and Solar Wolf's plans to expand on the Cape from the very first week of SunPower certifying Solar Wolf as a dealer in early 2021, right before the vendor was selected, and selected because of the SunPower panels. In retrospect, it can sort of look like the big national company sending out a feeler with a little regional company that expects to increase business, but knowing that in fact SunPower will be taking over the business, and the regional company won't get anything out of selling things at on a break-even basis, because they won't have any future panels, future installations that they will sell, that they'll be able to sell for a profit. So that's by way of saying, Nicole and Howard, I think I don't know what it's like in Newton, but down here we intend to really push with SunPower, because it seems that they've deliberately caused a number of problems. SunPower and Solar Wolf are suing each other. None of us would defend Solar Wolf, none of us. But there's enough bad to go around, and some of it splashes on this national company, whose panels and warranties are the best, but whose business practices maybe not. The final mention for an update, usually we'd have this from Mike Duffy, who's our Yarmouth Solarize coach, but since he's not here, the final thing that we've only discovered recently is that we've had a customer who's fully installed, who has, of course, the SunPower warranties. This person was a Solarize Yarmouth customer and Solarize Yarmouth volunteer committee member. And the trouble he's having with the panels, SunPower immediately agreed to address and said they'd have a repair person out in 2 weeks. Then they looked up on some central computer and realized that it was one that had been sold through SolarWolf and installed by SolarWolf, not as a subcontractor for SunPower, but as part of the Solarize Yarmouth program. And at that point, they said there was nothing they could do, because if these panels were, I think it's 3 panels, were under functioning, it wasn't a panel product, a product issue, which I realize they can check long distance, but an installation issue, and they were not responsible for the workmanship warranty. So that opened a whole can of worms that we had not thought of before, because we assumed warranty is warranty. And it is true that SolarWolf, as the dealer who sold those, was going to be doing the workmanship. And SolarWolf actually went out at one point before it imploded and disappeared to this customer's house and did fix something. But it now turns out that we're going to have to be very careful about how we get our customers' arrays fulfilled, because we want to make sure that it's through someone who will do the installation follow-up if there are any issues on the installation, because of their originally having been sold not through SunPower directly and not through either of the master SunPower dealers on Cape, E2 Solar and Dennis, or Blue Cell and Sandwich. And at this point, I'll stop and ask Sandy if she wants to make a comment, because I know you've been talking with Blue Cell, and you might want to mention how your experience is going so far.
I am very, very pleased with Blue Cell so far, just in talking, but am I a judge of good character? I don't know. Blue Cell's owner, CEO engineer, contacted me and said that they were willing to look at the panels that I had and to see if the installation was okay and if we could move forward to get it connected. They had an electrician come to my house on Friday who thoroughly went through all the equipment. He went up in the attic. He did not go on the roof, but he did see the wires that were hanging down. But he said that that should be a quick fix with some ties, zip ties, and but he
Zip
said-
ties?
zip ties. So,
Okay.
but he did say that the installation looked very good. He saw that I didn't get all the material that should have come with what I had so far. There's a smart module that monitors it so that SunPower can see everything that's working. None of that came, none of the receptacles, so that would have to be included. But he said the cabinets look okay. There was installation that he wouldn't have done it the way that they did. He's going to try to change out as much as he can if he does get the job. So that was on Friday. I was assuming that he would touch base with Blue Cell yesterday, and I would hopefully hear back within the next couple of days. I reached out to them this morning and have not heard back as yet. So I'm hoping before Friday that I have an answer whether they can go forward with it or not. I know that I'm going to have work to be done with getting the electrical permits in order. The smart connectors being done by Liz, correct, Joyce?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Eversource is working with us to make sure that those permits are all up to date. So I don't know how Newton would be able to do all of that since they're not part of our program. But do you have Eversource there or National Grid?
We have
Here.
Eversource for electricity.
Eversource.
Oh, okay. And Blue Cell has a branch in Burlington. So they, you know, they're a master dealer. You can see if they will be of help. But I mean, I think first you make the case that you should get this help for no money or very little money. Sandy had an interesting case. Do you want to tell them what happened when your installation was inspected?
The
Don't be ashamed of it now, Sandy. It wasn't your doing. It was Solar Wolf.
the inspector said it was Solar Wolf's electrician was there with him in the inspection, and he says, now I understand about the two teams, the good team and the monkey team. Looks like she got the monkey team. So Howard and Nicole explained to us, Joyce, I don't know if you were on, that they have the racks on
Oh.
their roof. Now, I don't know if this was
An
the,
empty rack?
just the,
Yep,
just
no
the
solar
rack.
panels, just the racks.
So, but it might have been the one that Blue Cell, have you had Blue Cell come to your house? No? Well, there's somebody else that has racks only, and Blue Cell could not help because the racks is set up for the 335 panels and they are using 400 panels. So that would mean that they would have to change out the racks.
Mhm.
And so,
So,
but I
Do
could
you re-
have,
oh, go ahead.
I could have panels on my roof right now that are not working and will be in the same condition as our other member. So I could be going down, I'm trying to look at this as half full, the glass half full instead of half empty, but
that's so you, Sandy.
I have that,
Yeah.
it makes me cringe.
And they haven't mentioned any amount for this, right? They're still conferring about that.
It's still trying to see if they can actually take on. I'm sure that a lot of this is a liability for them to take on something that's already been wired. But the electrician said that everything looked really well, very well done, that they didn't skimp on anything. And from what he could see, everything was good. He did make a comment that the panels were not put on the roof per fire code, because you're supposed to have 3 feet on either side, and they were a little close to the edge. But I suppose you could still get to it through a ladder. So the fire code could, I guess, no one really checks on the fire code with a house.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess if you're going to sell it, they come and check, something so you can give a certificate to the person who's buying it. But yeah, huh. Well,
One quick, just to chime in for a second, Sandy, what they were talking about was what they call the setback.
Right.
How far away from the various edges the panels need to be. That varies town by town, city by city. I know in Newton, there are no setback rules for it, so they can be right up against the edge. And a lot of the solar providers didn't know that when they were doing the designs, when we went through. So I would double check that Yarmouth actually has a setback rule.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I work in a
good to know.
municipality, so it is required on our municipal buildings.
Hmm.
They did not do the design of my roof like they had showed me originally either, though it's not bad.
Really?
I might have to take down another tree, but that's okay.
How different is it from what the
It's
the
just-
diagram was?
It's just moved over a little further than what it was supposed to be. It's okay.
Hmm. Oh. Yeah, the point at which we have a lot of our customers poised are they're at the permit stage. And that's when we began to discover, permitting is way more complicated than we knew. Customers can take over their own building permits. They can't take over their own electrical permits. And as I guess everybody here can imagine, no one is excited in the electrical industry or the solar industry to take these over, because with taking them over, they assume all the liability back to the beginning for the installation. So that's why here we think we're going to have to work out something with SunPower to make sure these get installed by people that SunPower has sent, has paid, has approved. Because the awkward thing is, at the very least, E2 Solar really actively dislikes solarized programs and actively chose not to bid on it because they felt that what happens is that there's this rush and people get things installed and pay less money, but that they, meaning here E2 Solar, as a SunPower dealer, end up picking up pieces and cleaning up, which has gulp sort of turned out to be the case. And Sandy, remember what Mike from Blue Cell said to you? He said he talked it over with other Cape dealers, and that they considered the solarized programs like totally dominated by price and an utter race to the bottom. And that wasn't something that they were interested in taking part in. So there's
so they
like
did-
that tension about these installations with local dealers as well.
They did 2 to 3 solarized, not solarized Yarmouth, but solarized programs
Mhm.
that they bid on. They chose not to do Yarmouth because of the treatment of the program. And they just didn't want to be part of it. Another interesting thing that he told me too, and I really liked his honesty, is that I ordered a battery with my system. And he said that he would not install a battery, not now, until they improve the batteries. And he wasn't crazy about the SunVault battery that I was going to get. So this is probably a blessing in disguise. I can wait. Though I was getting the battery as from my generator, but I can easily put up another type of generator if I have to.
It wasn't that he had anything, if I understand this, anything specific against the SunVault battery. It was that kind of, why would you buy this in its first year? You know, let's see how it works.
There's a lot of programming to it, and he doesn't feel that the programming is up to snuff as yet. And because of the building and fire codes that are being pursued right now because of the fires, they're just staying far away from batteries.
Oh, that's true. The whole code gets upgraded. And that,
The
well,
batteries,
but
the
if it were
batteries,
in there, you'd be grandfathered. If it were already
batteries
installed.
could have been installed down in basements, but now
Mhm.
the requirements are to do a full sprinkle system in the basement before they can have the battery.
Mm,
Who can afford that?
yeah. Who would want that? We have a subterranean library down here.
Hmm.
Oh,
So
okay. Well, it's interesting to hear the idea about the panels and the racks being on your house, Sandy, without a module, because just in the little bit of time between my sending that update and this meeting, there were 5 different emails from Solarized customers, one of which was somebody who was missing the module. He was calling it my inside panel, but I mean, I knew exactly what he meant, and somehow I don't know how they thought that was going to work. He's got panels in a racks, but they're just there.
if you have like an Allo camera or a Ring camera or a Wink in your home, they have like little receptacles that hook up to Alexa or whatever. That's basically what it does. It's like a hookup to the internet so that they can get all the information to SunPower on your panels. And it's a little white box. The electrician brought it in to show me with 2 different receptacles so that it gets hooked into your gateway of your internet and also into the wall next to all the equipment.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to see us try to help that person. He was the first person we discovered. He was not part of the Solarize Yarmouth program, but he's a Yarmouth resident who actually got his panels directly through SunPower Sales in Connecticut, selling on Cape Cod. And he thought he was participating, bless his heart, in the Solarize Yarmouth program. So I feel that we should try to help him there. But clearly with that kind of miscellaneous kind of installation where some things look fully installed and you may or may not have panels on your racks, you may or may not have a module. I mean, that's distressingly slapdash.
It's just the amount of money that has been given, and people like for Howard and Nicole, they've done 3/4 of the payments and have 0.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
they've done 3 payments.
90% of, yeah, 3 out of the 4 payments, which amount for 90% of the total. Yep.
Wow.
That hurts. And hopefully you didn't do a loan.
We didn't do a loan, but we were led to believe after the fact that if we were a lease or a loan, then it would be easier for SunPower to help.
Oh, but you were going to own your panels, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were purchasing. Exactly.
Yeah. Huh.
The
Wow.
money that's going to be involved in this that has been given to this company is going to be the struggle.
I mean, I think Solar Wolf is going to be useless for recovering money. And that's another reason to kind of concentrate on some of the role of SunPower in this, because if they're expanding into direct marketing and direct sales, they don't want to have a big blot on their record, or like, I guess, a lot of miscellaneously sized different kinds of blots. But I found out an odd thing last week, and Sandy had found this out before me, and that's how I got this thing confirmed. But we all looked and saw an MBA who was the CEO of Solar Wolf, and it turns out that that person, Taylor Bennett, is in fact Ted Strzelecki's sister-in-law. So that was a kind of all in the family arrangement. Some of the people calling to try to register their complaints through the AG's portal that we have for Solar Wolf, but from Rhode Island, had floated that. But since they had some other things wrong, I thought, well, that seems far-fetched. She seemed too sensible to be marrying into that family. But no, see, her sister did. So, yeah.
And
So
I wish it was only nepotism. I thought it was a worse situation.
Well, I mean,
Public
I don't.
TV.
And remember that we have someone who received, Ted's lawyers, of course, would not be pleased with the emails that he used to send people. And it's probably not an accident that he doesn't send them anymore. But remember that he sent someone a thing about that he had warehouses of panels and equipment just waiting to be installed. And he actually acted as if he was hiring, said he was still hiring. And certainly one member of this meeting, Camilla, remembers an April email to her in which he, gave great plans and said that he was hiring if she saw anyone qualified, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, I don't know if this guy, drinks his own Kool-Aid, is really just crazy, or it just seems that if he were going to be an organized, effective crook, he probably would have installed our town administrator's panels rather than sticking him. And he never would have messed with Sandy if he were going to be an organized crook.
He's not finished yet, and I'm retiring, so I have some time.
Oh, you could do full time.
I'm actually hoping to help the electrical inspector put permits together if needed. So that's part of what I'd like to contribute when I do sign off.
Oh, that's great. Well, and you get on well with the electrical inspector too, so that would work. Yeah. Howard and Nicole, our electrical inspector here in Yarmouth is a terror to local electricians. We usually go to EF Winslow, and we're aware that, you know, they're very careful around this electrical inspector. But when we had our house lifted and the new foundation done and then the house put back, we had to have a whole new electric panel, and the contractor brought in somebody who was from Boston but had done work on Cape, and he had heard of the Yarmouth electrical inspector as well. So apparently he's a tough cookie with high standards. And if he had passed Sandy's system, she would probably have it working by now. But from what he said, you know, a cable dragging on the roof could be a fire hazard, right?
Yes. Ken is also a fire inspector, so he looks at all those things and why he is really tough at what he does. So I appreciate it, because
Yeah.
one of the things I've been watching the news, and I've been seeing quite a few fires that have been happening from solar panels not properly installed.
Mm.
Could that be a property tax work-off program for you, Sandy?
I hope so. That's what I'm waiting to see.
Hmm. Well, do we have any other things to share on the issue of Solarize Plus Yarmouth, Solar Wolf, Sun Power, the whole lot of them?
No.
No.
I would
Okay.
like to ask Cowie and Nicole, do you have a team in Newton that's working with you? Or are you just basically by yourself?
Good question. We have been trying to figure out who else in Newton specifically might be impacted. Howie and I have reached out to the building inspector here. Newton recently updated their public search database.
Ooh.
Previously, we could search ourselves to see which other open permits Solar Wolf had in Newton. But unfortunately, with this upgrade, we can't do that ourselves, and the building inspector hasn't gotten back to us with that information. So concurrently, and while we're trying to figure out if we can band together with others in Newton, and I don't think it's many, to be honest. They might have been doing some roof work on a couple of houses, but we don't expect that there's a large number here in Newton. But we have reached out to some of our local representatives, the state senator,
Mhm.
So just so that some of the local officials at least know that you've heard the buzz in Yarmouth. There are people local here who are impacted. So we've tried to make that known, and we've been in touch with the AG's office as well. But we're happy to help as much as possible.
I'm wondering, I believe there's some customers in Newton, and I believe there's some in Auburn. And I've heard of a couple others, like a Channel 5, what do they have those?
Like Solid 7 type of
Yeah,
thing.
kind of get together to see if there's others and give some kind of a number. Now, you working with the Attorney General also?
We did file our complaint. We haven't checked this week, but we've been a little disappointed that, to be honest, we never really had our complaint acknowledged by the Attorney General's office. And I know that they publish, a database on their website that gets updated once or twice a week, logging all of the complaints filed. And ours had, as of last week, had not yet shown up there. I meant to check before this meeting. But we've called, kind of politely, and we've been assured that, it's in the queue. probably being, and we know that they had put out a survey, so we completed the survey as well. So, you know, I think they know about us, but you know, we've tried to offer some ideas, a lot like some of the avenues that Joyce has mentioned. You know, we think that you know, the guarantee fund is a great resource, and yeah, it just makes sense that rather than have each household, you know, go through that process individually, if there was a way to kind of lump everyone together and rubber stamp it, just that some of that money could be available to help finish the projects,
Mhm.
offset the expenses.
Have you filed a chapter 93A?
We did send Ted a letter, yes.
Did he respond?
He has not yet responded, no.
So you'll get part of that. One of the things that I'm checking on exactly is what happens, like, he has missed all the deadlines. But what happens? How do we get that processed in court when he does go for the bankruptcy or whatever he's doing? Because we're supposed to be part of the top layer of people who get money back. I don't know what year, but
Second from the top, after employees.
okay.
So that's interesting. Is that because you're a customer? Is it because of Solarize Yarmouth? Are all customers at that second
Chapter
level?
93A, that's what,
Oh, 93A makes you
that
second in
makes
line.
you second in line.
Oh,
And that
wow.
was given to us by a lawyer. They said that cost us nothing and you would do it.
That's great to hear.
My letter that I sent to Solar Wolf business got returned to me. The post office didn't even, they charged me the money.
Yep.
They never delivered it. They never even tried. After 2 weeks, they put it aside and said, we're gonna return it back to you if you don't respond. So I had to respond and say, I want you to try. I don't even think it was a month. Usually it takes forever for the post office to do it, but a month they return that. However, we did a search for his private home and that's how we got it delivered and he signed it.
Oh, he
So
did, okay.
yeah,
Wow. Okay, that's great. We
Yeah.
we had a similar experience. We sent it both regular mail and registered and by email to the Gmail address. The regular first class mail got returned to us almost immediately. The other one still hasn't come back, I don't think, but they said that there's no forwarding address. It's just sitting somewhere. That said, we did at some point learn who his bankruptcy attorney was, and we sent a copy to that address as well. We haven't
Oh.
sent it to Ted's home address, which I might have heard a rumor that it's not even his home anymore, that's been seized as well, but he may still be living there. If you're able to share that address, we're happy to send an additional copy
Yeah.
as well.
I will send it to your email.
Thank you.
And you know, Sandy, when you send that, Nicole and Howard, if you could send Sandy the address of the bankruptcy attorney he's using, that would be very helpful.
We all work together and then this way you'll have my email too, so that we can be in touch.
Yep.
And well, Joyce will also get it, so she'll give you the updates. But I think if we just all work together.
Yeah, and that was our goal in joining, is to be able to offer what we've learned and done already, and not be kind of left out in the cold because we're one customer in Newton outside of Yarmouth.
Although, to tell you the truth, the SunPower dealers in Yarmouth might be more willing to take you on than any Solarize Yarmouth problems.
The one thing with Blue Cell and what they said to both Joyce and I when we were talking to Mike was that I said, could you take on the customers that have been hurt? Said, to be honest with you, we couldn't even think about it. We're booked until after September.
Yeah.
And we cannot find help. We cannot find people who want to work on roofs. So they are, and that's the same thing that happened with Solar Wolf. He was having a difficult time getting help. But many businesses out there right now are. No one wants to work. I don't know what it is. I don't know how people survive. I don't get it.
Yeah, our situation might be even more complicated because the main two surfaces, we have 4 surfaces that we're gonna get solar. 2 of the large surfaces are slate. So slate roof.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that was one of the reasons we ended up going with Solar Wolf, because of Ted talking about his roofing business
mhm.
and his experience working on slate. And as far as we can tell, using the Iron Ridge racking system specific for slate, we think did a good job installing on slate. They didn't break anything in the process. They were careful. We even have all the little coasters of slate where they drilled through. Very expensive coasters, as it turns out. We also have to find a vendor who's willing to get up on the slate roof, which is difficult, to say the least.
Wow.
Ah,
But there must be at least a couple dozen clients, Solar Wolf clients around the Commonwealth that are in the same situation as you are. The trouble is finding them, I guess.
Yeah, if you're able to get the AG to share more information about who else is affected, that I think would be very helpful. I don't know if that falls under like a FOIA request or what, but I think we're of the same mindset that you are, that we should all work together. Even if talking about the judgment issue in order to pursue the contractor guarantee fund, I'd like the Attorney General to step up and just figure out a way to, like Nicole said earlier, rubber stamp it so that a judgment can be made against Solar Wolf so that we can all move forward with
Yeah.
at least that. There's a few other ideas that we have. I don't want to monopolize the time in the meeting. We're very grateful.
no, that's fine. I mean, this actually a very tiny agenda, but the reason we were meeting was because Solarize Yarmouth customers might drop by, and we try to be there for them.
Got it. Some of the other things that we're all concerned about, like you, is the potential expiring or reducing and expiring tax rebates, the tax credits. Is there something that the Attorney General or other agencies can do to have those extended or give us the ability to file that early, for instance, right? We'd like to see something there. There's also, what do we do with the amount of money that's been lost? Is there a way to basically write it off as a loss? There's something called the non-business bad debt. Can it be considered that and offset gains, for instance? Right? We're really trying to think creatively about how to minimize the loss to free up capital to finish the project.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And the agencies, should, we understand they care about solar, they want to see solar. So we would hope to see a little bit of advocacy from Dewar and Mass CEC, just to kind of move things along. So,
I
and
agree.
collective buying power, like, Sandy was saying, it is hard to find vendors who can take on so many projects, but if panels need to be bought across the board, et cetera, maybe if we all went in together, we could get some preferential pricing.
Mm.
I mean, even if SunPower would just provide preferential pricing to anybody who was affected with Solar Wolf on the equipment and set us up with a vendor who would agree to kind of, bare bones pricing. I know they're all busy. There's no shortage of work, so there's no real economic incentive for them to do it. But, taking it an even step further, why isn't the AG threatening to not allow SunPower to do business in the state of Massachusetts if they don't fix this for the consumers? I mean, are they doing that? We
Yeah.
don't know. They won't tell us what
We haven't heard anything from the AG's office.
But that's a pretty big stick that they can wave over
Yeah.
there.
I
Bring 'em up.
remember what they did with the competitive power suppliers that were just being dreadful and switching people's power supply without their permission and all that. They just drove them right out and then had a negotiated settlement that they would stay out and that they would also pay, you know, $1 million or several million or whatever in damages. And one of the things that we found frustrating is that the person who's administering our portal at the AG's office said that there's a kind of a conflict that the Attorney General's office can't be prosecuting while negotiating consumer deals with the same entity. And as evidence of intentionality seemed to pile up as far as Ted Strzelecki is concerned. I mean, it seemed like that was hurting the consumers again, because it meant that our AG's office wouldn't be able to give it, you know, the full consumer help that she otherwise might have been able to offer.
Well, this is an election year, so she better step up to the plate, because I'll tell you right now, I'm not impressed. And when I was probably one of the second ones that turned in my report to the AG's office. I never got an email that said we've got it. It never showed on the site that it was done.
Mhm.
Nothing. I only know because I'm on the team and I've gotten feedback, but I'm not impressed. I'll tell you, Tim Whalen has been awesome. He answered my emails immediately when I sent something out to him and has called me personally to talk to me. And he said, this is going to be a long process, Sandy. Please understand this. This is going to take a tremendous amount of time. There are many different levels of this that we are finding out. So I know that that is part of the problem, and I'm sure that is part of the problem with the AG's office. But I'll tell you what, it's an election year. And if this is not processed, I'm not impressed.
Yeah, and Sandy, in addition to what you said, they say it's going to take a tremendous amount of time, and we keep trying to impress upon them that the longer it takes, the more it ends up costing those of us who are already swindled.
Yes.
Because the tax credits going away and declining.
Exactly. You're absolutely right.
And Howard, we did actually inquire, you know, with the Office of Consumer Affairs and with the AG's office, because there didn't seem for that home improvement contractor warranty fund any way to indicate things like, you know, loss of participation in the SMART program, lost revenue from net metering. And so a utilities lawyer at the AG's office checked to see if the AG's office had established any standard by which to measure that kind of loss. And the answer came back after she checked around, no, they had never done that. So that would have been helpful if that were in place. And then when we went over the stuff on the contractor warranty fund, it turned out that all of those things would be consequential losses and expressly excluded from any award for damage from the contractor.
Yeah, that's our understanding as well. You know, another thing that might be helpful, I don't know how many other people are in this situation, but the contractor guarantee fund is limited to a $10,000 compensation award, whatever you want to call it, and we're well above that.
Mhm.
And so that's only a drop in the bucket for ours.
Yes, most are, and that's why I didn't process my paperwork to that. Plus of the charges that they were going to incur. So I didn't go that way. I wanted to do the Chapter 93A and hope that DOER, Mass CEC, and the AG's office would work together to get some kind of a program up and running to help all of us. I know it might have to go through legislation and to get monies but they do have the grants. They had I'm sure that there's extra grant money from this program. We were the last ones going out of the box. I don't think that they're at the end, but I don't know. Yeah,
we were Yeah, we were the final Solarize program. There was one other town that was doing a second round of Solarize, but we in that other town were the only towns in the last round. And then we're way chronologically past when we should have been finished, not just because our installations didn't get completed, but because we had a hold on it through the worst of the pandemic that we weren't starting up. So we, this program is so in CEC's rear view mirror, but they do intend to help try to get SunPower's attention and some concessions.
Well, I think that Mass CEC needs to take some responsibility in all of this, as I've told you many times, Joyce. I was a single person with little, and I'm going to be retiring, but I put my faith into this program and felt that it was a safe program to get myself into, to give out this money. And I am just appalled at what has happened. And it's not fair. Mass CEC had our group run and jump through hoops to do this program. We, as an energy committee, because we are a green community, they begged us for how many years? And then Mike Duffy took it on and said, we're going to do it. So we've done everything that everybody has asked us to do solar and to become green and to do all of it. And I honestly feel that, I know this might take some time, but I don't feel that they are moving things along. I lost my money outright from my bank account. So I lost interest on that. I lost my rebate. I'm not going to get my battery, which was going to be taking care of a lot of the payback. So I have lost quite a bit as a single person, just going to retire and hoping that that was going to be. And when I opened up my electric bill this month, in my 40 years of living here, I almost fell on the ground and said, are you kidding me? I'm not eating for the rest of the month. It had doubled. And it's, and here I was thinking that I was making it so that I was going to have an easy, well, it's not going to be easy retirement, but make it easier for myself to go forward. And so, yes, I only made half payments and I have a good chunk of everything, but I just feel for others that have taken out bank loans. And we all trusted in Mass CEC in this program. And it's a state-run program that they should be protecting us. There should have been a performance bond. There should have been a payment bond in that RFP. I know that in procurement, as I've told you before, that it's probably not a municipal procurement, but in municipalities, we have to do that in our procurement. So why wasn't there a performance bond set up on that RFP? I don't know.
And that leads us to kind of one of the things that makes it so difficult for, say, the town to help. The town doesn't have a contract with SolarWolf at all. It's all individual residents contracts with SolarWolf. And then SolarWolf and CEC had a contract that essentially was about pricing and about marketing. But one starts to see that it would have been nice to have much more infrastructure supporting all of this. But
even the contracts that were given to us from SolarWolf should have been looked at from when Mass CEC had us go through those guidelines. I think that there should have been quite a few protective guidelines for the consumer in all of this. They left us out there to dry.
well, I think that I know I found very confusing the idea that with the RFP that the Mass CEC put out, that we would only see bids from companies that met certain minimum criteria. So I took that to mean that they had cleared a significant hurdle. But certainly, you know, I didn't think it was like a a bad behavior hurdle that we were, you know, we were cheering them on over. But I know that someone I've spoken with since says that just means a certain number of installations and a certain amount of experience in the field, and you know, having a licensed electrician stuff. It has nothing to do with the financial, and I think it's easy to assume that the financial is included in that. I certainly did.
Yeah, there should have been, I mean, where it's a governmental program, there should have been all kinds of bells and whistles going off. I know it was the last one and they didn't have these problems, but here we are.
Yeah.
And so I think the Attorney General and Mass CEC need to hurry up, step up to the plate and give the consumers something to go on, that we can do it. So I'm going to be retiring in a couple of weeks, so put me to work.
Okay, well, that electrical inspector is writing this down even as you speak.
I've already told them. I got to get past his boss.
Yeah. Well, listen, I feel so bad that that all of this solarized stuff has happened, and it's pretty clearly going to be an agenda item for the next year with Energy Committee. Not usually quite this long and usually a little bit more focused, but I'd appreciate any thoughts that you all had about the best way for us to have this as a part of our Energy Committee meetings. Because I'm aware that everyone has different cases.
We'll get some water, Joyce. We
Would
can't
also
see
be
you, so
good-
we don't know if you need a CPR.
Yes, yes. It would also be good if we were able to, I don't know, maybe follow up with posting some of the things we talked about on the Energy website, Energy Committee part of the town website. Excuse me.
I'm not
I just-
sure.
I wish I could figure out a way to have this hour and a half that we have every month more helpful to consumers of who have been caught by Solar Wolf.
I would like to get on one of the TV stations and have some type of a meeting. Or not a meeting, but a talk.
Yeah. Well, I found
You need to get Leslie Gatus on it or somebody like that.
I don't watch a lot of TV, so I'm not sure who, what, but
Yeah, she's the gadfly for, I guess it's Channel 10 now. She used to be on Channel 8
okay.
she was an anchor for many years, but this is going back 20 years ago. She was an anchor, and in recent years, she's done product promotions and stuff like that.
Channel 10 though is Providence, isn't it?
No, it's the NBC affiliate, which is
Oh, MS.
part of NECN,
Okay.
and Channel 10 are affiliated.
Goes to show you I don't watch TV.
So, well, obviously we're going to have a section on Solarized plus Yarmouth for the foreseeable future. The good thing about the timing of Energy Committee meetings, because they're the first Tuesday, is the monthly update will have just gone out. So we'll have the latest stuff pulled together that we can tell people about. But it's an awkward situation in that I think sometimes there are individual solutions. Like Sandy, I'm thinking of your situation with Blue Cell, that I don't think Mike at Blue Cell would even think of doing for most customers what he's doing for you. Am I wrong on that?
When we first had this come in, when we first knew that we had a problem, And I had sent my email and all of the emails bounced back from Solar Wolf. And it was like day number 1 or 2. I kept going back and forth, and I think after we had the Mass CEC meeting,
Mhm.
I was so discouraged that I said, I gotta think outside the box here and see how else I can be helped here, or not I, because it was a lot of we's can be helped. So I reached out to SunPower. And I had a gentleman who must have been a new tech, just happened to get the short straw and answer my phone call. And he was so green, he didn't really know what to do. He said, I really don't know what to say, but he said, I'll get back to you. So I waited almost 3 weeks and I never heard from SunPower. And then all of a sudden I got a phone call saying that they wanted to know how I was doing, what was happening. And they've been in touch with me weekly. The gentleman that I started out with, Enrique, is no longer with SunPower. There's a new gentleman that's working with me. I don't even remember his name, but he has written to me twice already and asking. They are the ones that referred Blue Cell and had talked to Blue Cell. And at first I was reluctant to go forward before we had found out what we're going to do with all customers, because I didn't want to be the first one out of the box to get everything done, because I didn't want anybody to think that I had special privileges because I was on this board or the group. However, I said I need to move forward to see what the obstacles are going to be for the other customers. So I did send out the information to Blue Cell, and they have been wonderful. Talking with Mike, the CEO, and the electrician, I've been very, very pleased. So if they choose to take on my case and go forward, then it will be that step of how we do the permits, et cetera, and what the other obstacles will be. And it will be a learning moment for us as we move through. But I feel that the hardest hurdle are going to, how are we going to get product for people who have already laid out all the money?
Yeah.
I don't really know how to fix that. Except that I feel that somehow with the Mass CEC grant money, I feel that that should be part of it.
Well, I've a question for you, Sandy. You reached out to SunPower and you had this contact, and at some point, the person that you were regularly in contact with said, well, maybe you would want to get in touch with Blue Cell. They seem to be helping some of our customers. Now, are you sure that SunPower got in touch with Blue Cell about you before you talked to Blue Cell?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. I believe that SunPower has been trying. SunPower hasn't said this. This is my feeling. I do believe that SunPower has been reaching out to installers to see if they would take this on. And they are just so, they have so much work right now, and they don't have the workers that they can't help. So that's where it comes in, that balance again. But this is my interpretation. This is my personal feelings. No one told me this.
That's another reason why we got to get the war in the Ukraine over, so we can get some Ukrainian roofmen here to do the work. I mean, I think they're the major roof installers. I mean, the crews are, a lot of them are Ukrainian. And
Well,
or
it may have been a sign how desperate SunPower was that they hired Solar Wolf as subcontractor to get stuff up.
Well, I think he was a great salesman. I think that he, I mean, if you listen to his YouTube,
Yeah.
which I gag now every time I think about it, But I mean, when you listen to him, he's a smooth talker.
Yeah.
I mean, I have our video that we had at the senior center when people come after him, and he talked his way right out of it, making us feel like, oh, poor me, and his wife was sick, and, you know, oh my gosh, I got all this, and COVID is really hurt our company, and, but then he builds this brand new building, and he stiffs the guy that he was leasing from. The man has no,
Yeah.
there's no filters.
Yeah.
I feel bad for his children.
Yeah. And he does really have children. I started to even doubt that he had a wife and kids and everything, because I had gotten in so far. I started to say, wait a second, if it's all theater. But it does turn out, you know, one of the national magazines that did a piece on Solar Wolf did feature him with a wife and a couple kids in a photo. So, I mean, unless you think they're LA actors, I guess, you know, I guess he actually does have a family, but I mean, he's behaved pretty irresponsibly where they're concerned.
For a father who
Yeah.
is married, yikes. I have no comment.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, putting aside the sad business of Solar Wolf, and, you know, figuring that we'll be returning to that, and certainly next week. And Nicole and Howard, I've took down your emails. I'll put you on the list for the follow-up from that as well, because we're going to have more information about that local consumer protection action and what's involved with that next week. And we're going to send it out to our folks, and we'll send it to you as well. I have some hope that may help get things started. And I think the customers will feel better if they can at least see that something is starting, because everything has gone so slowly, partly because it's summer, partly because the state legislature does a year's work in July, but, you know, there are partly slow stuff coming out of COVID. But I mean, it's been very discouraging for people who've been watching this since the first week of May. Oh, and Howard, you mentioned your state senator. If you want to, next time you're attempting to persuade your state senator that something needs to be done, you can tell him that Senator Julian Cyr is already working on it. From down here, he's the state senator who represents Yarmouth, and he's in the Senate leadership, so he might be of some help, and I'm sure he'd be glad of a Boston suburban ally who would want to help people as well.
That's great. I just made a note. Yeah, we've been trying to draw attention to other senators and reps who on social media have commented on this, you know, reaching out to their constituencies. So well,
Excellent.
good to have another name. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Now let me just ask you, are you two in Newton right now, or are you down in Yarmouth like for the week or something?
No, we're at home in Newton. Yeah.
Oh,
It's funny, we were going to do a day trip. We saw that you're meeting virtually, but we would have been happy to join you otherwise.
oh, no, that's fine. No, I was just going to say, there, if you happen to be on the Cape, there would be an opportunity to encounter Julian Cyr at a fundraiser, excuse me, at the Cultural Center of Cape Cod at 5:30 tomorrow night.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm coughing away here. It's that I am underhydrated, and I perhaps have been out in a very dusty area just before this. So do we have any member announcements, suggestions for future agenda items other than the ones we've mentioned? Okay, a long silence. Everybody is exhausted from Solarize. Do we have any motions then?
before
I
we
move
make
that
them,
we adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay,
And Howard and Nicole, I will email you my personal email address so we can be in touch also. And I'll
Thank
send
you,
you the
Candace.
chapter 93A address. for personal.
Great.
you.
We'll be sure to get back to you and look forward to collaborating going forward.
Oh, great.
Okay.
And we would love to hear, and not to be mentioned in this, which will be broadcast and so forth. We would love to hear the information on the attorney. That would be excellent. This attorney representing Solar Wolf in
Yep.
the bankruptcy.
Understood.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, thank you all very much. It's always nice to see you. And one of these days we'll have a hybrid meeting and we'll be back in our beloved room A, at least for the people who are able to make it. And we can have refreshments and speakers and all the fun stuff we used to have pre-pandemic. But until then, have a lovely August and a lovely Labor Day. And look forward to seeing some of you around and being in touch with our new Newton branch.
All right,
Thank you all.
Take
Thanks for
care.
having us.
thanks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.